Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Annabelle Thébault. I'm a board member of the Insurance Super Club, the IAC Switzerland. And it's my pleasure to moderate today's discussions, co-organized by the Geneva Association and the IAC Group. IAC Group is championing equal representation for women in insurance, which fits quite well with the broader mission of the Geneva Association. We will be speaking with two insurance leaders from Prudential Financial, Caroline Feeney, CEO of US Businesses, and Salene Hitchcock-Gear, President of Individual Life Insurance. Caroline and Selen are the joint winners of the Geneva Association's 2023 Women in Insurance Award. The Women in Insurance Award is an annual award founded in 2020 by the Geneva Association, which highlights accomplished women insurance leaders and celebrates their work to elevate the powerful role of insurance in improving people's life. Caroline and Salene were chosen by the selection committee for their successful and comprehensive inclusion initiatives at Prudential Financial. The Geneva Association's chairman, Krishna, CEO of Swiss Re, presented Caroline and Salene with the awards at the Geneva Association's 50th anniversary event in November last year. For those of you who did not attend or tune into the ceremony, we wanted to start this event with a 2-minute video highlighting two minutes highlight of the ceremony.
The problem we have in the insurance industry is obvious. So in the Geneva Association with the CEOs, we have 10% women. So it's nowhere. I'm optimistic that in 10 years, 20 years, it looks quite different because there's a lot of talent coming up. But this is to explain to you why I think this award is important, the topic is important, and the award creates also role models. People need to see role models. I think a lot of female also are not interested to make a career in insurance because they like these role models. So I'm very happy that we have this prize, that we can give that out. And so I'm going to announce the winners. They are Caroline Feeney, who is the CEO of US Business and of Prudential, and Salene Hitchcock-Gear, who is President of Individual Life.
I have always believed that what I do every day matters. I have real purpose because I was able to impact people's lives every single day. And I still feel that same sense of purpose and passion every day. But I was extremely fortunate. I had many mentors and I had advocates and I had sponsors along the way. So now I have great joy and I take great energy and satisfaction from being able to pay that gift forward and to help other women succeed in our industry.
I would start by saying I am evidence of Caroline's paying it forward. We talk in the US about having a $12 trillion insurance gap. We talk about wealth gaps that are in the numbers of $15 trillion. When you think about access and inclusion, it takes courage from our companies and our businesses. It takes investment, it takes belief. These are not things that you can do easily because as the conversations have gone on, it is hard to build trust and create access.
The Geneva Association created this award for the very reason that we wanted more diversity in senior managers. There is no better example than I think you've seen today with Caroline and Salene.
What an inspiring video, and I couldn't see a lot of women in the room at the time of the ceremony. So the Women in Insurance Award is more than needed to bring forward female role models to address this gap. So we are now honored to have these two extraordinary insurance leaders with us here today, and I'm pleased to welcome and introduce Caroline and Salene. Caroline Feeney joined Prudential Financial in 1993 and is currently CEO of the US Businesses. Among her accomplishments, Feeney spearheaded the development of the Pathways program, which promotes financial education through Prudential's partnership with workplaces. She was also the first executive sponsor of the Prudential's Women Empowered Business Resource Group which now has 3,000 members, and was the first woman to receive the Roundtable of New York's Lifetime Achievement Award. Salene Hitchcock-Gear started at Prudential Financial in 2017 as the Chief Operating Officer of Prudential Advisors, and is currently president of the individual life insurance. Hitchcock-Gear is the first woman of color to lead this business. She has led efforts to create a line of simplified financial solutions that are easier to understand and simpler to purchase, with a focus on helping Black community in United States. As a director on the Women Presidents Organization Advisory Board, Hitchcock-Gear supports female business leaders in furthering their success. She has served on the board of trustees of the American College of Financial Services and the Life Insurance Committee of the American Council of Life Insurers. Very impressive. Yeah. A word on how we're going to spend this event today. So you can see the agenda. So I will first have a fireside chat with Caroline and Selen, and then we will take a few questions from ISC group members, and then I will share a few questions previously submitted prior to the event. So now, without further ado, allow me to welcome both Caroline and Selen to the floor.
Thank you, Annabelle. Pleasure to be here.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you. So can you each describe your career path and what led you to work in the insurance? And maybe we can start with you, Caroline.
Sure, of course. Well, thanks again, Annabelle. And I also just want to thank the Geneva Association and the ISC group for holding this discussion and for all the great work you do. So Annabelle, for about a year after I graduated college, I went down the path of starting a management training program in the banking industry. And it really wasn't fulfilling for me. And it wasn't actually getting to the point where I wasn't looking forward to getting out of bed in the morning. And the only part of it I really enjoyed was when I had the opportunity to connect directly with clients. And as it happens, my sister, who was working at Prudential as an underwriter at the time, suggested that I consider a career at Prudential in sales so I could work with clients. So I applied and got a job in one of our firms in a role where I helped recruit sales professionals. However, in order to do that, they wanted me to gain actual sales experience. So I spent time learning about our financial products and our services and working directly with clients. And that type of work where I could really make an impact helping people, whether it was helping clients or financial advisors, really suited me. It energized me. It gave me the purpose I was looking for. And this was just over 30 years ago. And I had the good fortune of being able to move frequently into new roles within Prudential. The truth is that I found that each new role was less about the move itself and more about having different learning experiences. So I served in the field for a few years and became a sales manager and eventually moved into a few different home office roles, marketing and strategy and professional development, but all in our sales and distribution organization. And I eventually went on to become president of that organization, which today we call Prudential Advisors. And that was really my first role leading a P&L, which I also realized I enjoyed doing. And that was a stepping stone to the other opportunities I've had at Prudential running businesses. So you asked Annabelle whether I set out to work in the insurance industry, and I definitely did not. And candidly, I also never thought I'd be where I am today. And I wasn't trying to get here at that point. But every day, good or bad, is exciting in its own way. And I can see the difference I'm making. As to what's kept me here, it's definitely the people. It's definitely the people and the very clear purpose that we have. We are so fortunate. This is a highly purpose-driven industry where we have the ability to significantly change lives for the better.
I agree. And you, Salene?
So good morning and good afternoon to everybody. So I started out actually in high school with a real plan. I wanted to be an architect, and I got all the way to my senior year, getting ready to make all my applications. And some very wise people decided to tell me at that point that I couldn't be an architect because I couldn't draw. So I was fairly disappointed that it took all that time to get that feedback, but that was the case. And so when I went to college, I didn't have a much of a focus, and then decided that what I really was going to do next was be a sports broadcaster. And Caroline and people who know me know I'm a bit of a sports junkie, so that would make some sense. But like a lot of careers for women, I really didn't have role models or, a way to really figure that out. So I did what we did in that generation, which was to try to figure out what exactly I could do for a career. So I went to law school, of all things, and thought that that would be a great way to kind of orient myself around not just a career, but really how to engage in things I could do to help people. And during my time as a lawyer, I really found myself attracted to what we call estates and wills and trust planning, which really kind of helps people put plans in place. But as an actual lawyer doing the work, what I found more than anything was that people have a lot of problems that they don't address until somebody actually passes away in their family. So planning isn't a real activity. It's more like at the end of life, you're helping families figure out what to do. And kind of simultaneous with that, I got my first insurance job opportunity, which was to be an advanced markets attorney. In our industry, what that meant was I was helping our company and advisors actually figure out how to put insurance to work for good in plans before people pass away. And I thought I would do that for a while and go back to being a lawyer. And 30 plus years later, that's not the case. I'm still very much engaged in the industry. And I found that through the work I was doing, I got more and more interested in how the things that insurance products brings to bear for people could be used, and how we could continue to work with individuals, companies, and other entities to actually take insurance into some different structures. So I came to Prudential in the mid-90s. I'm actually a boomerang at Prudential. And one of the things that we worked through during my early career was actually how to turn on a financial planning business, which was pretty novel in the 90s for insurance companies. And I then left Prudential, took on my first P&L role at another company, working with a broker-dealer and an investment group. Ran an insurance company there. And as I like to say, Caroline saved me and brought me back home. And I came back to Prudential in 2017 and just really love the work that we are doing here. And the idea that Caroline referenced about purpose at Prudential, it is what gets me out of bed every single day, that the work that we are able to do, which can be grueling and tiring and challenging. I'm highly motivated by the fact that every single day, we're working to make people's lives better. And it's a real thing. And so, I'm fortunate to have been in this role now for several years, and look forward to continuing to do what we can to have impact.
Yeah, thank you both of you for sharing so openly what has appealed you in the insurance industry, and still as of today. Yeah. The title of this event is Expanding Access in Insurance from the Inside Out. So let's first tackle the inside angle. Caroline, what does it mean to expand access or promote inclusivity within a company or workplace?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, Salene, glad we brought you back home. I have to say that. So, and Annabelle, to your question, we've definitely made progress with regard to inclusivity overall, and also increasing the number of women in C-suite and P&L roles, especially when you go back to when I started 30 years ago. And when I think back to my early days in this industry, I recall one role I had when I was a sales leader, and there were 1,200 of us across the US and only 2 women. And not long after I started, the other woman left. So certainly a lot of progress has been made, but we really need to do more. And it's not about diversity for diversity's sake. Take women, for example. They just have so much to offer this industry in all types of roles, in terms of leadership style, the ability to empathize with clients, to communicate effectively within and outside of an organization. We need more women to realize the impact they can have and the opportunities that exist in our industry. And it all starts by creating an inclusive culture, by welcoming people with diverse backgrounds and realizing that with that comes diverse ways of thinking about issues. For example, we have a large percentage of the population that could use financial advice, but they just don't have the level of access that they need to what we offer. And effectively reaching them means we need new ways of thinking about the markets that we serve. And when we do this right, when we have leaders who bring in new, diverse perspectives, we can really begin to address some of the gaps that exist in our society. And that's why I am so proud of my team that I have the privilege of working with. And quite frankly, why I believe we've made so many inroads and great progress. It's because half of our business presidents, I'm pleased to say, are diverse women, including Salene, who add incredible depth and insight into our ability to make better decisions about the financial solutions we offer, and also the ways in which we reach new customers.
And you, Salene, what are the main considerations at Prudential Financial when it comes to planning or delivering initiatives for employees?
Well, the first thing I would say is, we are really fortunate. We have a really talented group of employees at Prudential. And I say it really starts with our selection process. Our leaders are really thoughtful about our culture and, the efforts that we need to make sure we're bringing the right people into the organization. So we start from a really good place. The second thing I would say, and I've noticed this really, since I've returned and because I had so many other opportunities over the last 17 years when I was away to see how other companies work, we spend an incredible amount of time at Prudential talking about talent, caring about the progress we are making in a whole variety of areas, whether it's mobility for our employees, whether it's ways that people can be really self-directed and grow their skills. And so for me, it's the idea that we take the time to ensure that we're putting the right pieces in place so that people can take advantage of what's there. And the benefit of how we engage this way is that across our various groups, we know our talent. We have very intentional conversations about what we call high potential. We look at all kinds of metrics around how long people have been in roles and whether they need new opportunities. And so we have a very good eye around how to make sure that we can be supportive of people's career mobility. And then I think about what we do specifically with our mentorship opportunities and sponsorship opportunities. We have real program level efforts. I am now the chair of our business resource group called Women Empowered, which is 3,000 strong. I think you referenced that as one of Caroline's leadership deliverables. She really has pulled that together. And this iteration of that work, this group has created a very carefully crafted mentor-mentee program where women can actually connect within that organization for additional support. So we have a lot of things through our human resources area, but this particular group took it upon themselves to actually ladder in additional connections. And they have over 300 participants now in this mentor-mentee program, which means they can sort of on their own find someone who might have a career background or a particular job that they're interested in. So we have a very powerful culture, is what I'd say, of not only putting down the markers around leadership in terms of how we as leaders need to move, but we give our associates an incredible amount of opportunity to sort of reach and grow. And I think that really informs the work we do across our businesses. And it actually helps us extend that into our customer thinking, because we also use these business resource groups for market testing and ideation. We put the business in front of business resource groups for a reason, so that we actually have a learning hub and a place where we can go inbound and ask particular groups questions and get their insights. So, it's kind of a full circle complement to everything we do, starting with how we develop our employees, think about their career journeys, and then really pull that through to our business efforts.
Yeah, with the race for talent, it's absolutely essential to have a strong value propositions to attract, develop, and retain our people. Fully agree. Thank you, both of you. I mean, moving from the inside to the outside angle of our conversation, can you characterize the financial situations or challenges of your customers and how this evolved over the past, let's say, 5 years? Should we start with you, Caroline?
Yes, that's great, Annabelle. Thank you. So first of all, I'd say we are facing one of the most complex economic landscapes we've seen in decades. Currently in the US, and Salene, you referenced this earlier, there's a $30 trillion retirement gap and a $12 trillion life insurance gap. And unfortunately, about half of American households have no savings in retirement accounts. And on top of that, we have economic uncertainty due to inflation, as well as the potential depletion of Social Security just after 2030, which all make it so much harder for individuals to plan and save for the future. And we see this uncertainty across all generations, including baby boomers and Gen X and millennials and even Gen Z. And there's a few underlying causes. And I'd say chief among them is lack of access to the tools, to the education, to the financial solutions that help people get ready for retirement. So it's important that we work together as an industry to close this growing gap and meet the needs of our current and our future customers. And in the last 5 years, we've seen this uncertainty accelerate, unfortunately. I'll also add that we do see gender disparities when it comes to financial insecurity. For example, women report facing greater financial insecurity than men and report owning fewer financial assets that could help them overcome this financial insecurity. And when we looked at assets, half as many women as men own stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, or index funds, and far fewer women had an emergency savings fund. So in general, women are much more likely to say they're worried about their short and long-term financial security overall, but albeit, you know, I gave you a sense of the broader landscape, and we definitely have work to do.
And Salene, so how has Prudential Financial reoriented the products and services it offers and ways it approaches customers in response?
You know, we have the luxury of having a wide variety of ways that we reach customers. So we do business primarily through advisors, but we also have a lot of opportunities to work across employers. And so the way we think about attracting and supporting customers really is multifaceted. We have recently been doing quite a bit of work in the insurance space within my group to really think about how we can crack the larger problems that Caroline referenced, and the access issue is a real one. So when we think about how we serve people through advisors, we know a lot about the age and demographics of people who use advisors, and we have to expand there. And so we think about how to create a more diverse pool of advisors, and then how we can extend individual advice to people. And we have a variety of goals in that area. But the big things that we're working on to really push things at scale is to really think about this underinsurance gap from the lens of who's impacted. And so we've identified some 43 million households that by age and income are likely going to be more likely to engage through digital means or through means that they may not have an individual financial advisor. So we're creating embedded insurance solutions to actually help people think about insurance in spaces where they may be doing something else, and we call these sort of natural adjacencies, so that insurance access isn't overwhelming, it's not complicated, it can be more aligned to other things that people are doing. And so we put a dedicated business team together to actually understand how we can better engage in a new way and actually make insurance simple and different for people, where they will think about it, again, not as being difficult, not as being too expensive, but along with something else that they're already doing, easy. And we are really seeing good opportunities there. We are thinking about all kinds of adjacencies, whether it's financial around people who take out mortgages for their homes or who may have student loans, but starting in spaces where we know financial issues really bring insurance to mind, and then expand from there. The second area that we're really focused on is how do we actually attract and extend ourselves to create access for more diverse communities. In the US in particular, we have a lot of trust thresholds to cross with people who may not trust financial companies or might have historical references to things that have occurred. And so we have a particular audience and set of customers that we're thinking about, where we have really taken data and research to actually redefine who a customer can be in these segments so that we get away from individual income and asset tests and think more about the level of responsibility people might have, how they engage with their family members, what things really speak to them, and how do we then use a variety of community relationships and partners that we already work with across Prudential to actually reintroduce us in these markets from a level of credibility and trust, where we can actually engage with people starting out in a better position so that we're not having to overcome what can be some very difficult hurdles for people to actually want to engage and understand what might be available. We believe we have tremendous solutions to help people really put security into their financial lives. And so in those two primary ways, thinking about how to extend digital access to a wide variety of new households and how we can extend ourselves to more diverse customers, we see real ways, again, to drive impact and really address some of our larger issues and make a dent in this large insurance gap that we talk about.
Yeah, and the insurance, thank you, Salene, and the insurance can serve as an important part of an individual's or family financial safety net, and helps to promote prosperous societies, businesses, and economies. And I would even say that we could go so far as to say that insurers address economic inequality. What can insurer do to really maximize its impact? Caroline, would you?
Yes, of course.
Well,
Annabelle, your question really gets to the heart of what we do, which is really our purpose. And for Prudential, our purpose is all about making lives better by solving the financial challenges of our changing world. That's our purpose. It's critical that through the advice and financial solutions we offer, we meet customers on their terms in the way in which they want to engage with us. Whether that be online, direct to consumer, or through a hybrid advisor that can serve a client on the phone, or through video conferencing, or even traditional face-to-face engagement. We must be there when they need us. We must recognize generational differences, as well as economic issues related to access, and of course, customer preferences, as well as anticipating their future preferences and needs when developing and offering financial solutions and services. For example, millennials and Gen Z tend to prefer self-service and digital options, and they're more comfortable with chatbots and consulting multiple resources such as family and friends, and of course, social media before making a purchase decision. Whereas Gen X and boomers in general may still access these resources, but still prefer the option of live interactions and phone support. What we do see across generations, however, Annabelle, is a continued interest in speaking with an expert just prior to making a decision. And finally, I just say there's no one-size-fits-all solution, and we have to make sure we're addressing the needs of our more diverse customer base.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of you refer a few times to digital. I mean, I don't think we can have an event without talking about AI. I was at the World Economic Forum last week, and this topic was everywhere.
Yes.
So technology is clearly moving at a fast and unstoppable pace, and insurance, like other industries, is challenged to keep up, to leverage the benefits while sidestepping the hazards and the drawbacks. So Caroline, what are some of the biggest advances that you have seen in the insurance industry over the past 20 years?
Yeah, well, you mentioned AI, and so clearly that's one of the biggest advances we've seen over the past few years. And we've actually worked with AI for several years now and are working on a number of use cases leveraging generative AI as well. Gen AI has been, and along with so many others in our industry. Overall, we believe AI-based tools will continue to enable us to quickly analyze data. It's going to allow us to make better decisions, to reduce risk, and most importantly, improve the customer experience. I'd also add that enhanced technology and our improved use of data has and will continue to have a significant impact on us and on our customers. And this involves more comprehensive and holistic use of data to give us what I'd consider a better picture of our customers and give us an opportunity to offer financial solutions tailored to match their needs. It will help our customer service professionals be better positioned to offer our customers the opportunity to speak with a financial advisor when it makes sense. So we're caring for our customers' immediate needs as well as their long-term needs.
Yeah, thank you for this. And you, Salene, which technology innovations at Prudential Financial have been the most effective?
Well, you know, technology is an interesting tool for our advisors and our customers. And I would say we have been building electronic and technology capabilities for a very long time. But it wasn't until the COVID experience that we really saw what we would call significant adoption. I'd say we've been working on this, like many in the industry, for quite a long time. The good news is, because we had been building these capabilities along the way, we were ready at the time when we needed them most. We actually have electronic and digital capabilities as end-to-end infrastructure across our insurance business. And that is significant for us because we're continuing now, as people are using it more, to build depth there. So you can go into our systems, submit an application electronically, get an underwriting decision electronically, and then have your policy issued, sent, and delivered. And we can do that in several hours. The reason we've made those advances is because for the last 10 years, 8 to 10 years now, we've been working on an algorithm. So you talked about AI, but we've been working on an underwriting algorithm that allows us to price and underwrite in seconds rather than the hours and days that it has taken previously with all the labs and exams that have been required. And so these advances where we can actually use data as proxies for what have been for decades now, rules-based underwriting practices, really gives us a very strong advantage in helping people not only get their insurance more easily, but take some of the friction out of the process. When we entered the COVID era, for example, we could not, as you know, send people out or into homes for medical labs and exams. And while we were able to get electronic health records, you would know that not all health records were available, or we had a lot of challenges with individuals who just may not be in certain systems. And so having an alternative in that time that we could use was very helpful. And now, as we are continuing to build into that infrastructure, we see where we can use it across a variety of our product set. So we really have leaned in to AI as an important property in what has been, you know, a very consistent environment. And we think it has a lot of really wonderful advances from both a customer experience, but also for us in terms of risk management and getting smarter about, you know, how we think about uses of data and how it can help move us forward.
Yeah, that's really important to avoid further bias as well in the way you use the data.
Yes.
Before we move to the next segment of this event, let's come back to the Geneva Association's Women in Insurance Award. So the one aim of this award is to raise awareness of the women who are holding some of the most senior positions in the insurance industry, and to counter perception that the industry is male-dominated, especially when it comes to the decision making. What is the key to progress on gender parity in insurance, in your view? Caroline, can we start with you?
Yes, of course, Annabelle. Well, one of the things that I would say is I actually read a really important study. It was from Saramount, and it pointed out a few main gaps that are essentially acting as barriers to women making even more progress, advancing in business overall. But I think it's relevant to our industry too. The first, I believe, is awareness and knowledge by women of what's needed to move up and what opportunities exist within a company. And that's why awards like this one by the Geneva Association are so very important, because other women can see that they're not alone. The second gap is the ability to build relationship capital. In the study, they cited that more men than women recognize the importance and benefits of networking, of getting advocates and securing sponsors. because people with a network are more likely to get a role within P&L responsibilities, which was a natural pipeline to the C-suite and further advancement. And the third gap was having confidence in oneself and being willing to take risks. This is one that I take a lot of interest in myself in terms of mentoring women. This is about the importance of being able to visualize oneself in that next role or at the top and seeking out role models. And like I said earlier, while there's been progress, it is absolutely going to take continued efforts like the ones of the Geneva Association and the ISC group, among many others, and obviously support from men and women alike to really continue to make a difference.
Salene, would you like to add something?
Yes, Annabelle. And on this one, you know, I think the way Caroline talks about mentorship, it's really important and really understanding these key drivers around confidence. I think the other really big issue is that we have a lot of women who come into the industry in entry-level positions, but don't necessarily move forward. And so that mentorship aspect is critically important. The other thing that I notice quite a bit and that we talk about and work on is this idea that what you know how to do isn't so much about content as it is transferable skills. And how do you continue to think about your career from a skill development standpoint? So we really encourage women to think about taking lateral moves rather than just think about hierarchical levels, so that you can grow in these skill areas and learn more about how to do things while you're building your content. This is also an important conversation with our companies and how we recruit, because if we can make that skill translation, you can actually find women who are leaders and have strong contributions they can make, because those skills can be transferable rather than simply focusing on, you know, the 5-10 years experience in a particular industry, et cetera, but really reaching out and thinking about how you can bring talent into your organization if you have a skill mindset. And I think those are two additions that are really important in terms of how do we really sort of overcome this issue of women thinning out as we get into higher ranks, and how do you think about tackling that more broadly than just, you know, working on your internal pipeline and watching that happen, but how do you actually bring women in at a variety of levels who have those transferable skills? And how do we encourage women, to Caroline's point, to actually have the confidence to do that? Because we see so many times that women feel like they need to know more or be expert to have that confidence. And how do we help support the idea that skills really can get you there?
Yeah, and be aware of all the skills that they bring, yeah, into the workplace. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much, Caroline and Salene, for your inspirational thoughts and authenticity during this fireside chat. So we are now going to welcome two ISC Aspire members, and Krishna Lin should be joining us. So she's an Assistant Vice President, Large Casualty Risk Engineering at Zurich Resilience Solutions. So she's from the US and working for Zurich. She should be joining us in any minute. Here we go.
She is.
Well, welcome, Krishna. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you. First, Caroline and Salene, congratulations on your award and your bold and inclusive leadership. You are the leaders that inspire me, and I'm sure my fellow women colleagues on the program today to do more, to be more, just to want to become better. So thank you so much. And a special thank you to the Geneva Association and ISC group for allowing me the opportunity to spend time with these phenomenal women. So my first question, I really want to start with just learning a little bit more about your journey. And if you could share a highlight or low light of your career. And why don't we start with Salene?
So I have a great highlight because it's Prudential related. And in my first journey with Prudential, I mentioned early on, I started working in advanced markets, and there are a variety of constructs in that particular discipline. We wanted to get out of just insurance activity and get more into advice. And so we sought to build financial planning capabilities. And in the 1990s, insurance companies were not keen on doing, really extending capabilities or doing anything other than keeping our sales teams focused on insurance goals, because there was a lot of concern about distraction and all kinds of the normal things that you all are familiar with. And so over about a 3-year journey, I led a team that built a financial planning business that I am very proud of because it's still in existence today. And one of my fun stories was I was away from Prudential for 17 years. When I returned in 2017, I got so many emails from people who were actually still at Prudential, some of them who were our advisors, who were not only happy that I returned, but talked about in those emails how financial planning had changed their career journey, how important it was to the company. And so it's one of my prouder moments. It's a small thing in it's sort of the grand scheme, but because it got built and it's stuck, it is really one of the things that I'm most proud of. So that's the highlight. On the low light side, very relevant to this conversation today, in a time I was away from Prudential, I had a project to actually try to bring to our company an entire program to recruit more female advisors. I did an incredible amount of work on this, sat with some advisory groups who are in our field sales environment. And I'd say there were about 15 members of that advisory group. I was nurturing them along. And in my final presentation, the collective 15 told me very clearly that they were not interested in hiring more women. What they were interested in was growing their business, and they would do so according to how they thought it was better, and that my work was better as a corporate project. Now, I will tell you that when you spend a lot of time on something, first of all, that's personally disappointing. But as an industry commentary, it just reminded me of how hard certain change curves really are. And even when you make the case, because of course, all of these have business upsides and you're talking about all the benefits, people get very comfortable in the way that they do things. And I think about that a lot. How do you actually make advancements when what you're trying to do is kind of win hearts and minds about why change really matters? And some years later, I will tell you that the people in that room actually changed their minds, not because of anything that we said, but because they had daughters coming up in their families that they personally decided they needed to bring along in a different way and make things better for them. But that was a very stark message for me. And it's one that I carry with me a lot, just thinking about how do you work through change.
Thank you for sharing that, Salene. And it sounds like that's something that really sort of pushes you through those tough times and when you're challenged. So thank you. My final question is for Caroline, I apologize. And this question really, it's for women like me, emerging leaders in the industry. And so if you could just share some common mistakes or pitfalls that you would advise women to avoid.
Yeah, so first of all, great to spend some time with you today, Krishna. So I say applying to a new role for the wrong reasons is something I've always tried to provide advice to a lot of mentees and caution people to think carefully about that. So in my mentorship roles, I often get asked for my advice about whether someone should apply for a role. And very often I find it simply because it's a promotion. And Salene, you mentioned this earlier in terms of the importance of jumping in and taking lateral moves to broaden your experience set. And I always ask how the person feels about the role itself and the responsibilities that come with the role, right? Is this something that they'd enjoy, something that they're passionate about? And if the answer is not really, I always provide advice that they should wait for another opportunity because in my experience, that usually doesn't end up going very well. And the reality is life is just too short to do something that you're not passionate about or that you don't have genuine energy about. So that would be one thing that I would and have offered as advice.
I think that's great advice. So thank you. I receive it.
Good.
And my time is up, but I just want to say again, thank you. And both of you are the leaders that make the future, our future. So thank you. And I wish the best for you.
Thank you,
Krishna.
Krishna, for daring asking questions. So we now welcome Leah Müller. Leah is Client Director Services from Moody's RMS, and she's based in Switzerland.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Leah.
Hi, Leah.
So wonderful to be here with you. And obviously, congratulations, Salene and Caroline. It is great to see some role models. It is great to see, how you've progressed and also the fun and the motivation and the purpose you have. And I can feel and hear about it. So my experience in working in pushing the boundaries of insurance too on the natural catastrophe side, on the climate change side, I know it takes a lot of energy pushing the boundaries of insurance. So what is your everyday motivator? What gives you the energy that you can actually push these boundaries and you can bring the financial well-being to more and more people? Yeah, should we start with Caroline?
Yes, of course, Leah, happy to. So first of all, Leah, I mentioned earlier that I know I'm part of an industry that is truly helping people. That alone motivates me and gives me energy. And by the way, it's the perfect reason for me to want to push those boundaries that you mentioned to help more people realize the benefits of the solutions that we offer, right? To allow them to live the life that they want. To protect what they've worked for, to ensure their family has what they need, to buy a house or to send a child to college. I really enjoy that. That is motivating for me. And I love being in this industry, and you can probably tell that, and seeing all the ways in which you can make a difference in people's lives. It matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so great to hear. It does. Thanks. And for you, Salene?
So, one of the things I think about a lot is when we talk about these gaps we have and how many people don't have insurance, I feel like it's one of the best kept secrets in our industry. And to the extent that what I get to do every day is wake up and try to figure out how to fix that, that is highly motivating. I have so many stories, as I think we all do in this industry, of how life insurance has changed lives, so supported families, provided such wonderful stability. It is one of these things that people don't think about sometimes until something happens and then they see the example. So I feel like my challenge every day is to figure out how do we get on the mountaintops and shout about what is insurance all about and why do you need to have it? And we have so many places across the world, but certainly in the US, to really push that knowledge and that access lever forward. We just have an incredible opportunity in front of us. And the alignment of purpose and values and actually being able to make an impact, I can't think of too many industries where you can pull all that together and yet have such a wide opportunity. Like we have low saturation, and it's because insurance isn't that relevant for people. So that's what gets me up every day and really trying to figure out creatively, how do we change that? How do we make something that is really quite a problem solver when you think about it and can provide such security to people? How do you make that more relevant and bring it to more people? And so the numbers are big. And so every day it's a reason to get up and get after it.
Yeah, it really sounds almost like now you get a lot of competition in the field, because actually it's true. It's fun, it's purposeful, and there is the business opportunity too with it. So good to hear. Thank you. I have one more question, which is more a bit about the investment piece. So we know from science and from some publications that women are, in comparison to what most people think, on average, the better investors. Because they have a strong and clear strategy, they are more relaxed during turbulences, which in the end then leads to better investment outcomes. Is this something you can leverage in your work and when you work with your clients? And if so, how do you leverage this? Caroline, do you want to give it a start?
Yes, of course, Leah. So I'll just take a step back and I'll start by saying that women actually control the majority of household wealth in the US. So we need to pay attention here. And so we try very hard to make sure we're considering the needs of women when we develop or market or sell our financial solutions. In fact, we're always looking to recruit female advisors. And we tell male advisors to make sure that when they're meeting with, for example, a husband and wife, they're including both in the conversation equally. I can't tell you how quickly a woman will drop their financial advisor if they don't feel they're being included or spoken to in a respectful and inclusive way. And I think we've come a long way there, but it's still something we instill in our advisors. We also work hard to train our advisors on the unique financial needs of women, so they understand the types of solutions that may make the most sense for them. For example, where women still earn less than men on those occasions or have less because they've been out of the workforce for a period of time, they may simply have less to invest and need a longer time horizon or more aggressive investment vehicle when planning for retirement. So obviously you spoke to their investment acumen, Leah, but I think those are all other things that should be taken into consideration as we're helping and working with women in their investment journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for also bringing in really this bigger picture, which you should not neglect. Thank you so much. And you, Salene, can you somehow use the fact that also women are as well as at least as good as investors as men are?
Oh, we certainly do. And what I would say is, as we think about our audiences and how we attract customers and understand how to better serve them, we create real tools. We have an ebook that we call it sort of a digital environment for learning for our advisors, where we talk specifically about women and investing and how, as consumers, their orientations need to be better understood, so that as we are talking with them about their goals and objectives, there's clear insight. And these are some of the things that, we work through to make sure that we approach our customers from where they come from and how they think about things. And the companion to the information that you shared is that despite really good outcomes that women have in investing, they're still low confidence and they're still a bit more conservative. And so we round that out by trying to make sure that we are providing the right messages to our female policyholders and investors to make sure they better understand their time horizons. So as Caroline mentioned, you can have very different economic situations based on earnings or time out of careers, but you also typically for women have longer time horizons to worry about in terms of length of retirement or actual longevity. And so partnering those messages along with these benefits of having clear plans and strategies and real desire to have certain goals. We see a lot from women around family outcomes, making sure that they have provided for their children and extended family members, bringing all of that together, grandchildren, for example, bringing all of that together to make sure we create clear pictures for how to engage with women and help them reach their goals is really how we use some of this data.
So cool to hear. Thank you so much for answering my questions, but thank you even more for, sharing your knowledge, sharing your energy and your power. It is really, giving me an energy boost this afternoon.
Oh, so glad. Thank you, Leah.
Much.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Leah, for your
Bye.
great questions. Bye. Yeah, so we are now entering into the last part of this event with the questions from the audience. So we received quite a number of questions prior to this event. So we probably have time for 2 to 3 questions. And I will start with the first one. It's a question from Iona Dima West. She's a senior manager from AXA XL. And the question is, have you had to deal with any ageism in your roles? Who wants to take this question?
So I'll jump in, Salene.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
So I'd say, Annabelle, I did experience a form of ageism when I was actually younger and newer and new to the industry. Very early on in my career, when I was on the sales side and took over my very first sales leadership role, I had some seasoned, experienced teams of men reporting to me. And many of them, I think it's fair to say, were old enough to be my father. And I think a few may have even had daughters my age. And some made it very clear to me on my first day in the role that they knew more than me, which they may very well did know more than me, and that I didn't deserve to be in the position I was in. And that was tough at first. And of course, it didn't help that I was also a woman in what was at that point very male-dominated industry. But in a relatively short period of time, they got to know me and they understood what I could bring to the table. And in fact, a number of them I'm still friends with and I speak with to this day, all these years later. But ageism is a real thing in society that we have to pay close attention to and take very seriously.
Absolutely, yeah. And when you're younger, you wish you had more gray hair. And when
Yes.
you get older, you are hiding your gray hair.
This is very true.
So
Very true.
Yeah, we do well hiding it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Comes full circle.
Yes, thank you so much, Caroline. So the other question was from Michal Riduszowski. I hope I pronounced correctly your name, Michal. He's a VP Business Development from RGA. So his question is, where do you see the US life insurance market in the next 5 to 10 years?
That one's
So
definitely for you, Salene.
Yeah, I will definitely take that
Okay.
one. This one's near and dear to my heart. So, we have seen, we talked about longevity. So 30 plus years in the insurance industry, we've seen a 1, 2, 3% growth rate seemingly forever. And that is largely because we sell through advisors for the dominant portion of our sales. And we typically talk to people 50 and older. We have some other demographics, but they're smaller in terms of impact. What I am very heartened by is that the ability for us to see upside in the industry is actually taking shape. For next year, for example, LIMRA is, for the first time since the COVID spike, predicting that we're going to have a 3, 4, or maybe even 5% growth rate. And we're seeing that through the use of some new products, which means to me that we're getting into some customer segments that are going to expand our ability to bring new people into the marketplace. I also hear and participate in quite a few roundtables where this question of who we distribute through, what do our financial advisors look like, and who are the customers of the future, really say to me that we are going to be on a growth journey. And what's so important about this is this has to be an industry effort. There is not one single company that can tackle the challenges that we've talked about alone. And so I believe over the next 5 to 10 years, we are going to see extensive expansion of technology and tools for people to have greater access to insurance. I believe we are finally starting to make inroads on this idea of expanding our customer reach through different advisors and more diverse advisors so that our community reach is extended. And I was recently at a LIMRA conference here in the fall where I attended a session where there were literally 2 full screens of technology partner companies posted, which really showcased the way that we're thinking about extending our reach from our insurance companies into new ways of doing business. So I think we really have a good infrastructure for growth. We are changing the ways we do business internally, extending our reach. And although COVID was a very difficult time, we still do have a little bit more conversation going on from the awareness that consumer sets actually had during the COVID period. So I'm very heartened and believe that we will get out of our 1 to 2% legacy growth and actually see real growth and change in our industry over this period.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think we have a time for another question. It's amazing. We're already at the end of this event. Time is flying. Do you have any last remarks for us, Caroline and Salene, before we close this event?
Well, maybe I'll start, and Caroline, you can take us home. I just first really want to say Thank you. We started earlier with highlights and lowlights. I would tell you with a lot of humility that receiving this award was my career highlight. In fact, my family members joined me for that award, and they kind of were teasing me about, like, is this like a lifetime achievement award? I said, it kind of is. When you've been in an industry a long time and you get recognition for something that you love to do, it is really wonderful. And so I just really want to thank the Geneva Association and highlight the importance of the conversations we are having. You know, as a global community, there's a lot that we need to do to support one another. And I both left that event and I'm participating today with a lot of gratitude. So thank you so much.
Well, when it's said as beautifully as that, I think my best response is ditto. I honestly feel exactly the same way, Salene, from the Geneva Association Award experience in Zurich. And I too, like Salene, had members of my family there, which was very special, but just to be part of it was so inspiring. But even this conversation, and I do want to thank you once again to the Geneva Association and also ISC for organizing this event, because I do think that bringing conversations like this to the forefront are so very important. And I, for one, very much appreciate being able to be part of it. So thank you.
So thank you to both of you, and particularly in this complex economic landscape, it's so important to remind ourselves why we are doing what we are doing in the insurance industry and the impact that we have in society. So thank you for bringing this purpose into the forefront. I would like to invite as well, so you can see on the slide, I would like to invite you to complete the survey. We really value your feedback, so please take a few minutes to complete this survey for us. It's so important, and thank you so much for attending this event. And I wish you a good rest of the day or afternoon or evening. Thank you.